sorry for that. My system is acting up. I don't know why. Today of all days. So I'm just going to move straight to it. Please, I hope you can see the full screen now. I'm using just one screen now. So
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Please, I'm sorry for that. It's my system. So we are going to be looking at the different types of resident status first. Because we asked you guys to send in your, to do the registration. And we saw that there are different caliber of people among us. So we have students, we have employees, we have those even with resident card. So the first thing we'll look at is the work-based resident status. I'll just go through this quickly. So we have the passport alone. So we have those who are salarié qualifié like that. We have also the salarié. So these are the people who got the 1 year and then got the 4 years afterwards. And the salarié détaché ICT, the travailleurs senior, those are people who come just during the summer or something to just work, just seasonal workers. Then we have stagiaires, that's the people who came to France for internship. We have travailleurs temporaires. So these are the people who got work contract but between 3 to 1 year. So instead of getting the salarié, they were able to get the travailleurs temporaires. Then we have RIS. These are people who finished their schooling and then they got the 1 year APS, which is now called RIS. Then for entrepreneurship-based residency status, we have passport alone as well. But in this case, we have passport alone creator d'entreprise. We have a project economic innovative, that's innovative economic projects. We have investisseur economic, that's economic investor. We have mandataire social, profession artistic et culturel, that's cultural and artistic profession. Then renommé national or international, so national or internationally known people. Then we also, so those for this category of people under this passport alone, they can get resident permit up to 4 years, depending on the file they are providing. Then we have the entrepreneur and the professional legal. This is more of the common one. So they get 1 year, and then afterwards they get 1 year or they get 4 years, depending on the prefecture and what they see about the initial first year of the life of the business of that person. Then those who came in for study and training based, so étudiant and au pair. And then for family-based residency status, we have the vie privée familiale. So these are spouse of French citizens, foreigners in civil partnership. So those that have those are not married, but then they are in civil partnership. Then parent of French child, family of a foreigner legally staying in France, young adult entering France by family reunification, young foreigner born in France or entered as a minor. Then we have vie privée familiale for order of work accidents, then sick strangers, victim of crime, and all of that, and also humanitarian or exceptional reasons. So for sometimes those that apply for refugee status who didn't get it, sometimes they give them this humanitarian visa. Then for others, family of EU residents, like EU citizens, family of French nationals, family of non-EU. So for those ones, sometimes family of non-EU with passport alone, so they don't have to go through the regroupement familial. And then for regroupement familial, that's for non-EU citizens who are resident in France for at least 18 months. They can request for regroupement familial through OFI. That's the Office of the French International. So there's also the carte de séjour, passport alone, like I said, for families of holders of passport alone. Long-term residency status. So carte de résidence. So after staying in France for 5 years regularly, so this doesn't count the time you spent as a student. So this has to be clear. So after staying in France for 5 years, you can apply for carte de résidence. which is valid for 10 years. You can also apply for long-term resident EU. For this one, if you have it, then you can go on to live in another EU country, another EU country, and then you have to be there, but not more than 6 years. So you cannot be away from France for more than 6 years, for more than 6 years. If not, you are going to lose this particular card. But this card is good for those who probably want to move to another EU country without necessarily losing their residency in France. Then there's also the permanent residence card, which after doing the 10 years residence permit, you can apply for the permanent resident card. Then obviously the Holy Grail, French nationality. So I will allow Kachi to continue.
All right, thank you very much. So based on everything that Ajibola has spoken about, in terms of the different kinds of residency status you can have, I know the big question for us is how do we move from students to change our status either to salary or to business or whatever. So for us who are students or who came here as students, the clear path is usually after school you get a job and you become a salarié, or you get a job that meets certain requirements and you get the passport talon, or you create a business. Now, this is the normal way we should go as students. But there are other ways too. There are students who have come as students and who got married and changed to the carte de résidence vie privée. That happens as well. There are also students who can choose to do other things, but those are not things that we advise, of course. So, but from student to salary, here it's the three basic ways. You get a job. The job provides you your authorization to travail. They apply for it online. They get it. They give it to you. You go to your prefecture to get your titre de séjour. Now, if the job pays below 38,000 for people who have master's degree, you get the 1 year. You get the 1 year. You get the 1 year titre de séjour as salarié. If so, there's somebody speaking. If the job pays above 38,000 for people who the job pays above 38,005, I think it's getting close to 40,000 now. They can apply for the passport talon and they get that. For people who do not get a job or who are unable to get a job, they get the APS. And during the APS gives you two authorities. One, for you to be able to get a job. But if you look at it, it also says for you to be able to create a business or a company in France. So that's the interesting thing about the APS. So this is like the basic route that we can go. But we know that it can be challenging for sure to get a job in France, especially in the first year after school. Some people are lucky. APS, sorry, so somebody's question is, what does APS stand for? I'll try to answer questions while I also speak. APS stands for Autorisation Provisoire de Séjour. It's just a provisional 1 year provisional paper for you to stay here legally, to search for a job or create a business. So we know that it's difficult getting a job in the first year. So what happens when your APS is about to run out? And bear in mind, once you get the APS, you cannot go back to being a student. Once you're done with school, you have 1 year to ask for the APS if you are in France. If after 1 year you don't ask for it, you lose the right to ask for it That is the challenge. But if you are outside France, you have up to 4 years to ask for the APS. But as long as you're inside France, you have just 1 year to ask for it. Uh, so when you have the APS, when it starts to run out and there are no other options, what do? The easiest and the easiest route to get ahead of that is to create a business. So when you create a business, you can have different legal structures of business. You can be an auto entrepreneur. You can have a micro enterprise, like a sole trader. You can have an EIRL, so it's entrepreneur of individual limited liability. You can also create a company. So your company can be EIRL, so enterprise unipersonal, but also it's just one person. You cannot be two. You can create an SRL, the Société à Responsabilité Limitée. So it takes from between 2 to 100 partners. You also have what you call a SAS, SAS. You also have a SASU, SASU. Now, these are all different company structures that you can have. When you talk of company structures, you also have ones that you can call SAE. Those are specific structures for real estate investment. So we create those for a certain specific reason. Now, talking about all of this, there are different advantages and disadvantages to these different structures or legal structures of businesses that you can have. Now, a micro enterprise means you are just alone. You are responsible for anything that happens in that company. So let's say there's a liability that comes tomorrow for the company, but because you are the individual running the company, the liability falls on you personally. So you are responsible. Legal troubles, whatever it is, you are responsible. It is on you. It's not on the company. Same thing for the EIRL as well. When you start to create a company that has a structure like EURL, now, yes, you are the owner of the company, you are the individual owner, but the bulk of the responsibilities goes on the company. So you as an individual is separated from the company. Same thing for the SRL. For the SRL, responsibility is usually on the company, not on the individual. So here you can separate yourself from the business. That cannot happen if you are a micro enterprise. Okay, so I see a question in the event that you want to create a business, doesn't necessarily have to be in your field of study. So this is a very tricky question because usually when part of the document you submit to the prefecture is usually your CV is accompanied by it. So they need to see, if not in the field of study, they need to see like a competence that you have in that industry. Because as a micro enterprise, you are more like a consultant. You are creating a business that is centered around a service that you can offer. So there has to be proof that you can do this. So either your diploma gives you the right to do it, or your CV shows that you have a track record of doing this. These are the two things that you have to deal with that. So when we talk about creating a micro enterprise or creating a legal structure, there are also other disadvantages and advantages. Meaning, if you are an SRL, you create a company, that company wants to become the vehicle for you to change your status, you have to be the majority shareholder of that company. You have to be the majority shareholder of any company that you're creating to give you the legal structure to be able to change your titre de séjour to entrepreneur titre de séjour. So that is that for that. I think we'll go on. What are the documents needed to apply for this status change? Now, there are different documents that you need for different structures or different titres de séjour that you're applying for. You can always find them on the site of the prefecture, but there are some specific ones that that are mandatory for certain things. So let's see, if you create a company and later got a job, can you be able to change to other visa types? Yes, you can. You can be an entrepreneur today and decide to get a job tomorrow. You can always apply, but just know that if you get a job tomorrow, the company has to apply for the authorization to travel for you. So you can always switch. The only thing is you cannot go back to being a student after you have gotten the APS. That's the only thing. But besides
Just
that,
1 minute.
yeah,
Sorry,
go ahead.
Kachi. Please, for those who might have questions, you can put your questions, but we would answer them at the end.
Okay, so we can
yeah,
go straight
we'll
to
answer them
just
at the end.
at the end of this thing.
Yeah, I'll just take over from here. For the document needed to apply for status change. So since we are more or less focusing on the entrepreneur, we will not really delve too much on what you need to change to Salarié. So for the carte de séjour temporaire, which we already said it's for 1 year. So there are a lot of information here. Like I said, we'll be sharing them with you, but just follow as best as you can. So the carte de séjour temporaire is for 1 year, and then it is renewable at the end of the 1 year. So when you renew it, you could either get another 1 year, or you could get up to 4 years. So the maximum you can get when you renew is 4 years. And in doing this one, you need to show the existence of a real and serious project. So you need to show that there's a real project going on. Then the project has to be compatible with safety, health, and public peace. Then you need to show that you have, it's now 21,000 in resources because it was changed. So that's the SMIC. It was changed 1st of January this year. So by the time we'll be sending this document to you, it will be, the change will be effected. You need to show it. And then this particular decision, it supports only one person. So that's one of the main difference between this and the passport alone. It supports only one person, which means that you cannot put your family under you with this at the same time as when you're applying for it. So unless maybe your spouse is also going to be part of the business, but if your spouse is also going to be part of the business, he or she also has to meet all the requirements. So the resources, the person also has to meet the requirements on his or her own. The required documents are here, so I don't want to really go too much into it, but these are the normal documents that we normally submit. Just some of the few things that are different is probably maybe the so, for example, if you are creating a commercial, so it could be a commercial, industrial, or craft. You could also be having a liberal profession. So, if you are creating a commercial, industrial, or craft, you need to first of all go to the Natalie account. So that's the ANF where you do your renewal, the online. You need to ask for avis. So you need to ask for opinion on the project. So if the opinion is given and is positive, then you can now go on to the prefecture to request for your resident permit. So that is for those who are carrying out commercial, industrial, or craft activities. You still need to also show the proof of registration of the company. So article of association, if it is a company, if it is an auto entrepreneur, obviously KBs. So you just need to show KBs or situation of your business, which you can download from INSEE. And then avis d'imposition, that's your tax status statement. So for me, normally I advise everyone. I know that there are some students who don't, they don't do their tax declaration every year. And it could be to your disadvantage when you might need it. It's good to do it because, for example, if you need to apply for this, a lot of times the prefecture, they would ask you for the avis d'imposition from the last year or even from the last place. So if you are working in France, even if you are not working, do your declaration have your visiting position because you might need it. So if you are doing self-employed, if you are just the only person, so you need your CABIS, that's proof that you've registered a business. You need the avised imposition, that's the tax, and then you need proof of the capacity of the activity to provide a level of income. So you need to show through your bank statement. You need to show also through your business plan. You need to show your CV. You also need to show any kind of you also need to show any kind of diploma that you have. So for the business plan, normally for me, if I'm doing it myself or if I'm helping anybody or whatever, I use a Propose. It's by Credit Agricole and it's very good. You don't need to break your head. So we'll share this link and everything and you can check it. If you have better way of also doing it, why not? But basically, you need to show a very comprehensive business plan. For the carte de séjour, plural annuel, that's a passport talent creation d'entreprise. So you need to show. So basically, this one, like I explained before, is for 4 years. It's 4 years renewable. And the good thing about it is one application counts for the whole family. So basically, your wife, your kids up to the age of 21, they can join you on this permit without having to go through the recruitment familial, which is a long route. The required document also similar a bit to the previous one. We'll see just quickly what makes it a bit different. So you need to show certificate of recognition of the project, which you have to use this particular, you have to go through this this website. That's where you put your application. So if you get an attestation, a favorable attestation, before you can now go and apply. And for the application for this one, you don't necessarily have to do it with the prefecture. You apply online through your ANF account, and it is much, much faster. From my experience, it is faster, only that the document you need to provide, they are more like a lot. And you also need to show evidence of an investment amounting to at least 30,000 in the plan visa. So it could either be your own money or it could be borrowed funds. But it is best that if you are borrowing it, the money should be from a French bank so that they can easily verify it. But if you say you have so amount in Nigeria, it will take a little bit of convincing for them to actually be able to accept it. But if it is domiciled in France, then you are good to go. You also need a qualification equivalent to master's degree, or if you have any document that proves that you've been working professionally for 5 years, so that could work. Likewise, evidence of financial means corresponding to the annual statutory national wage, that's the SMIC. That's 21,000. That was what I was saying the other time. It's no longer 20,000, it's now 21,203 as of 1st of January 2024. You need to show proof of company registration as well. And you also apply, like I said, from this website. So also, if you are starting the source, there are some additional things that you need to add. So if you are starting a business on your own, like in your own name, so you need a copy of the commercial list because maybe you want to start a business, you need a copy of the commercial list or a copy of the domiciliation contract. If you are doing lease management, you also need to show a copy of the lease management and the extract from the company registrar of the previous, about details of the previous manager and copy of the lease drawn up in the owner's name, that's the owner of the property. If you are starting a company, so that one is a different thing. So you need commercial lease, you need the draft article. If the company is, if you have been appointed to establish a French company, if a foreign company is appointing you, so maybe a company in Nigeria that is appointing you to establish the company here, there are documents to provide. I'm not going to go through all of them. We'll send this to you. Also, if you are setting up an establishment of a foreign legal entity as well. There are documents to provide, but there are a lot of, the whole point is there are a lot of options available to you. Talent passport marked, so we also have talent passport marked innovative business projects. That's for the French tech visa for founders. The same document, the only thing that is different here, two things here, is that you have to be selected by a partner incubator of French tech capital. And you need to get an official letter from the public body. So the public body is basically being run by the Ministry of Interior. And you need to get it from this website as well. So you basically go in, log in, you fill your document, you upload document and things, and they would let you know if they find the project interesting or not. You still need to show evidence of financial means. So this, for this financial means, I just need to say this. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to have 21,000 in your account. But for example, if you are working, so for those who are working, even just showing your pay slips is good enough, because you'll be earning at least SMIC. If you're an adult, you'll be earning at least SMIC. And if you're not working as well, in your bank statement, at least show evidence of 1 to 3 months of SMIC. That should be fine. So from experience, even if you show just 1 month, sometimes it goes through. The main thing is work on the business plan, work on the financial plan. You need to really show that the business is going to make, and then it should be fine. Then apart from the innovative, apart from the French tech visa for founders, there's also for investors as well. So there are people who don't want to start from scratch. They just want to invest. This might be maybe interesting to students who are still in school, who probably don't have their certificate. This might be a bit interesting. So for this one, there is more like, obviously, a lot of money is involved in this. But like I said, it might be interesting to some people. There are people who are on this kind of permit. So the documents are similar. The only thing that is different here, you need letter of recognition of your eligibility. You also need to show evidence that you are personally putting at least, you are going to be buying at least 30% of that company, or you have a stake of 30%. And you also need to document, like you need to show documents that demonstrate the creation or protection of, like to create these jobs. So you need to show that you are going to be creating jobs in France through the investment you are making. And the money here is huge, 300K. But obviously, there are people with that kind of money who do not necessarily want to start showing whether they have master's degree or not. It doesn't really matter here. As long as you have your money, you are good to go. And again, families can be included in the package, and they can all move in together. Or if they're already installed in France, they can all go on this particular permit together. So again, just to make it, just to make a summary, to make a business plan, you can use this proposed by Credit Agricole. It's not compulsory, but I find it very interesting and easy to use. So you don't necessarily have to be an accounting book. As long as you have your figures, you can easily do it, and it doesn't take a lot of time. And you'll be able to generate years of financial projections, marketing projection, like a lot of important informations can be generated with this tool. You need to have a detailed budget, so you can go to L'Agence France Entrepreneur. They give recommendation on how to do this. I would advise for you to have a cash flow forecast, so provision financier. Have a projected cash flow, and have realistic cash flow, and also, if things go bad, cash flow. there are strict regulation as well sometimes, especially if you are trying to enter regulated business space. So if you are trying to enter like a industry that are well regulated, you need to be sure that you meet the requirements. So again, it's not just about having the money, but you need a lot of documents to back this up. To research a company name, you can use MP to research company names. I will hand over to Kachi to continue.
So thank you very much, Jibola. So at this point, when you are changing your status from student to entrepreneur during your studies, that is not possible. I think I've seen where people ask that. No, that's not possible because there's one document that, okay, there are two documents that will give you the permission to create your own business. It's either you have the residence card, so either you are a vie privé residence or you have the residence card that says carte de résidence, or you are a French national. Then you can create whatever you want. You can do whatever you want to do, even while you are a student. But as long as you're a student, a foreign student at that, you cannot create a business while you study. You can do it without legally doing it, but you cannot register the company. You can only, there's the only document that gives you the authorization to register your business as a student is your APS, because it clearly states on it, get a job or create a business. Only the APS can allow you to do that. But you can start to try out your business idea and all, try to get maybe international clients and start to earn money, but you cannot legally register that entity until you're done from school. You can also work on a company project within
D'accord,
a
d'accord.
PEPIT.
Moi, je suis disponible, je fais rien si tu veux qu'on m'appelle.
Sorry, PEPIT, so which is Pôle étudiant pour l'innovation et le transfert et l'entrepreneuriat. So it's a student cluster where you can try out your. That is very possible for you to do. But creating a business while you are a student, that is not possible. Jibola, please, can you go forward to now to also change your status from a student to entrepreneur at the end of your studies without the APS? You still fall under the same situation. You need the APS to change. You need the APS to change. Without the APS, it's almost impossible for you to do anything entrepreneurial because of the authorization it gives. As a student, you are expected to just work 20 hours a week and go to school. They are not expecting you to think of business or anything at that point. So that would also not work as well. So everything still points to you getting the APS. Now, when at the end of your studies with your APS, which is called RIS today, you can then decide to create a business while you search for a job. Once you create the business, you can start to look for your clients, start to prospect and do whatever you want to do, start to earn money from it, and still keep looking for a job if your end goal is to get a job. And then once you get a job, you can do your change of status as well. But it's good to know what type of business you want to create, what type of legal structure you want to use, find out your type of business, how much, because when you are an auto enterprise, they are limited. So there's a maximum amount you can earn a year. There are limiting factors there. So you need to check for all that and see how that works for you. One other thing that people find frustrating about auto entrepreneurship is you also have to pay your charge social every 3 months, every trimester. And that is not your tax. So at the end of during the tax declaration season, you have to now declare your income and then your tax will be calculated based on everything. But every trimester, you have to pay your social charges. If you have A micro entreprise that is more like a service based, you pay around 22.5% of your revenue in that 3 months. So there are challenges, there are things that you also have to take into consideration for sure. So yes, once you are done with school and you have your risk, you can create a business while you still look for a job. You can start to earn, and then when you get a job, you switch to a salary status and you let go of your entreprise. There are cases where you cannot, basically, you cannot keep both. You cannot be a salary and be an auto entrepreneur at the same time. The only way for you to still have a business where you are a salary, but you still have a business is to be in a structure like an SIR. But even at that, you cannot be the majority shareholder. You have to be a minority shareholder in the business. So for you to keep your salary status and still have some kind of business on the side, you need an SIRL where you are a minority shareholder. So that is very important. You have to be the minority shareholder, not the majority shareholder, to be able to keep that and still have your salary stuff. Switching from salary to entrepreneur is also possible. But like I said, you have to choose what works for you. Because yes, you can be a salary today and say, well, tomorrow I just want to be a consultant. I'm tired of working full time for someone. You can become an auto entrepreneur, register your business, and then get get your titre de séjour for auto entreprise or create a company and then decide to do your thing on your own. It's very possible for you to do, but it takes a lot of consideration. You need to consider so much because as a salarié, you get your salary regardless, whatever happens. As an entrepreneur, that is a different thing. And as a salarié, you are not conscious of certain charges that are being paid because they are taken out of your salary and you do not understand it or you don't see it or you don't feel it. As an entrepreneur, you get to see every charge that you must pay. Your social charges, if you have employees, your employees' social charges, uh, tax, you have all of that stuff. So you need to weigh your options properly before doing that because it comes with a lot of responsibilities when you're an entrepreneur. So you need to be sure of what you want to do. But it is very possible. Now, can you be a salary on a salary permit and open a business at the same time? Like I said, it is possible, but it has to be an SRL where you are a minority shareholder. Because as a majority shareholder, it gives you authorization to get the entrepreneur permit. But you cannot do that. You cannot have two clashing permits. So you have to be a minority shareholder to keep that status. Also, because of your social charges. As the majority shareholder, you pay social charges, you need also health insurance as the gerent of the company. There are so many things that needs to be done for you. And being a salary, you already get that too. So it becomes a problem for the administration. So being a minority shareholder is not a problem at all. You're not obligated to do those things. You can just declare your revenue from the business as an additional income that comes from a business. But you're not all going to be under the social charge scheme, the social charge scheme of an entrepreneur. That's going to still remain as a salary. So it's possible to do, but remember you have to be the minority shareholder in an SRL, not a micro entreprise or auto entrepreneur. So that's about it. I'll leave the financing and business aids and grants and loans to Adibola, who understands that better.
Okay, so basically the questions, so we are going to be treating some questions that were asked in the registration. That was actually one of the main reasons why we asked that people register so that you can, ask your questions and we can answer them during this session. So we'll try and give our best shot. So how to finance your business? Obviously, financing business is the main thing. Everybody can dream of becoming the next Dangote, but then at the end of the day, the limitations available to you. So in France, there is what we call the plan d'épargne en action. That's PEA. So it's basically, share saving account. Different banks might have different names to it. Some banks, they might call it Assurance V or something. But basically, it's a savings account that can help you to at least plan towards your, future business goals. Then there's also a plan logement. That's like the lodgement savings. That's a housing saving, but you can take it out and use it to run your business. Nobody's going to do anything. It's your money. Also, we have loans and guarantees. So from banks. So maybe for students, unless maybe you have a very good relationship, like positive account almost every other time, and you're working while you're a student, then maybe you can also be able to get something. But basically, for students, it's a bit limited when it comes to loan, but there's a prêt à la création d'entreprise up to 7,000 euros from banks. So this to help small. So this for small businesses, and also there is business.
Yeah, so I'd say you're very correct. It's like mainly for, especially for like software and tech. It's like the code.
Sorry. So there is also what we call the prêt bancaire aux entreprises. That's a business loan. There is also the that's overdraft facility. So for some of these, you need to see a financial consultant or at least see your conseiller, your bank counselor to be able to advise you on this. We also have ADI. So from ADI, so this for self-employed micro entrepreneur, employee, job seekers. So they give loans up to 10,000 and then is repayable 6 to 36 months. You can defer the first payment for a maximum of 3 months. And the fixed rate over the course of the loan period is 7.45% per annum. So it's per annum. So what else? We also have grants. So you can check FR. There's about over 6,008 grant incentives available to businesses in France. A lot of people don't know this. So yeah. And it doesn't necessarily mean you are selling a physical product. It could be service rendering. You still have your, what's it called? So you can check with CCI. There's CCI office in almost every departmental capital in France. So you can check with them, but you can go to this website. Like I said, all this information, we'll send it across. There's also Réseau Entrepreneur. That's available to job seekers again and low-income people. So people who are earning around SMIC, so who wish to access financing. This one is 0%. And they also benefit from long-term support, mentoring, sponsorship as well, and Club for Young Entrepreneurs. So this also the Club for Young Entrepreneurs up to the age of 26 years old. And they mentor them up to 3 years. Also through Pôle Emploi, you can get ACA assistant to business creator and to buyers as well. There is also ARCE Act to receive unemployment benefit in form of capital. So they give you something in form of capital that you can use to start a business. So if you are collecting unemployment benefit and you tell them you want to start a business, instead of giving you monthly, they give you something, a lump sum to start something. And it's a grant, you don't need to pay back. There's also NAC from Direct, so it's helped to benefit from support for the creation and the takeover of a business as well. There are eco grants, so a lot of grants here and there. Some are regional based, so you need to check with your region as well. The region where I am is the Lyon region. Oven Run Up and their grants here. Also, you can check with BPI France as well. Their grant for Eat Fund and all of that. There is research, development, and innovation grant as well. So through BPI France, also through the Ministry of Higher Education as well. So research tax credit. So that's basically tax credit for research work, and also innovation development loan. So this is up to 3 million euros. That is repayable over a number of years, and is given to SMEs and companies with fewer than 2,000 employees. So SMEs, small medium enterprises. So you can check with them as well. There's I forgot the Digital Ambition Fund as well. So to help to fast track startup growth and help to create French digital champions. There's a innovation tax credit as well. So for if you are doing anything innovative, they give you tax credit on it. So basically, they give you a rebate on your tax, and yeah, this could go a lot of way. But there is a ceiling to it, so it means that you cannot be making more than 400,000 euros per year and per company that is going to come to them. Also, training grants. So probably some of us know this, but maybe for those who just came to France, they might not know. If you are working in France, every year you get up to 500 euros, not cash, but in this confirmation that you can use to do any kind of training that is acceptable to them. So basically, all the trainings are there. So people who want to do driving lessons, driving training, or you want to improve on your French, or you want to write a French exam, maybe you want to write a TCF French exam to probably be able to get the new changes in law about if you want to get plural, and that's a multi-annual resident permit. You need to have A2. If you want to apply for nationality, you need to have B2. If you want to get the 10 years, you need to have B1. These are some of the new changes they made. It wasn't like that before. So you can actually get training through the confirmation if you are working in France. So this one is for those who are working in France. Every year there's about 500 euros. I think last week or thereabout, the 500 euros for the year 2023 was paid. So yeah.
Formation.
Yeah, I would send all these things, so please don't worry. There's also training grants, so industrial agreements. There are a lot of training grants available. There are recruitment training grants. So even if you recruit somebody, to your workplace, to your business, there are grants that you can actually, take. That one is through Pole Employ. If you recruit somebody who is unemployed, there are grants that you can actually take advantage of. Also, we have venture capital. So in France, these are some of the venture capitals. We have a lot of them that do invest in businesses. Likewise, we have what we call the business angels as well. So oftentimes, business angels are more like school-based. So sometimes they deal with their alumni, like ESSEC Business School. So for somebody who graduated from ESSEC Business School, there is the business angel for the alumni. There is also for 8 years. There is INSA. Please, can we mute ourselves, please? Thank you. All right. There's also the crowdfunding as well. So where people just come together and they fund a particular project, and then they get shares in the business, or they get back their money with interest, depending on the agreement that is made. These are some of the important agencies for French businesses. So when we send the documents, you can check them out. So some of them I've already mentioned before. BPI France, very important. They work with FON as well. So you can reach out to our able president and his vice, John and Abiodun. They have better understanding on BPI France and how they work. I hope I'm right. Yes, I think so. Anyway, moving on. Finding business partners. So through your school, alma mater, professional network, business brokers, also their partner matching websites like Co-founder Lab, Power Links, Equity, Euro Equity Blog, where you can find like people who would be like evangelists to your business, who would run along with it.
But also you can also go to the, sorry, Ajibola, just to add to
Yes,
that, you can
please
also
go
go
on.
to your CCE in your region, the CHOM commercial, to find partners as well. In Britain, it's go to CCE Britain, you get a list of people who are looking for businesses to repurchase, or people who are looking for partners to partner with on a business. So your CCE is a good place as well to look for partners. Continue, please.
Thank you. So we got this question. The question was a bit long, but I just tried to shorten it. So basically, the person is asking, after studies, he's enrolled in French studies, and then he tried to renew, but the prefecture told him he should do change of status, and he's trying to know what he should do. So basically, to do change of status, after you finished studying, you have the right to 1 year REES, that's research employee creation enterprise, to search for work or to create an enterprise. So you have up to 1 year after your study. So basically after your resident permit after your studies, after you finish studying your master's or something, you have up to 1 year to apply for this. If you apply after 1 year, there is the likelihood of you being refused, or you might be lucky, you might be accepted. Normally, if you go outside of France, you go back to Nigeria, you have up to 4 years after you graduated from a French university to apply for this particular card. So somebody who graduated up to 4 years ago can still apply for the card to come back to France. But that is for someone who has gone back home. Or for someone who is remaining in France, you have up to a year after you had graduated to apply for this particular card. So if you are enrolled in French language course, for example, and maybe you've already done more than a year, maybe you renewed your resident permit as a student, and you've done more than a year on it, and you want to ask for APS or REES, as it is called now, you want to ask for it at that point in time, it might be a 50-50 case. So it depends on the prefecture at that point in time. They might ask you to go and do change of status, which means go and apply for work and then come back to us. Or if you are lucky enough and you are able to register a business, even though as a student it is difficult, maybe you have that money and then you invest in an existing business, then you can do change of status. Yeah. How soon can I change my student visa to work visa once I get a job? As soon as possible. As soon as possible. So you don't need to wait. I'll use myself as an example. I never got, when I did my master's, but I never applied for the APS or REES. I got a job and I switched immediately. The only thing is you should already have your certificate because they would ask for it. And then your company, if you get a job, if the job is not something that will give you passport alone, if it is just a titre de séjour salarié, then it is your company who would have to do the filing online for the autorisation de travail, that's the work permit. So when you get the autorisation de travail, which comes very quick, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, up to 1 month maximum. When you get the autorisation de travail, with every other document, take it to the prefecture to request for a resident permit salarié. But then if the work you are getting, if it is a CDD, there's likelihood that they might give you travailleur temporaire. Sometimes they do it, even if the CDD is more than a year. Normally, if the CDD is more than a year, if the CDD is more than a year, it should give you the salarié. Then when you are coming back to renew, they will look at the remaining number of time on that CDD contract and give you the extension. But if you have a CDI, which is contract durée indéterminée, that's lifetime contract, they give you 1 year, and then you get 4 years at the end of the 1 year, the expiration of the 1 year. But if it is a CDD, you get 1 year as well, but then when you are renewing, it is still CDD that you are having, which is a contract really determined contract, that is a fixed term contract. Then they will look at the time that is left on it to give you a TIT decision based on the time that is left on it. So they might have maybe 1 month, 2 months, depends on the prefecture. Every department, prefecture, and the way they work. So what works in prefecture A might not be exactly the same thing in B, but that is the general idea. Also, just for information purpose, so these are some of the what's it called, the SMIC, because for those who are asking for SMIC, so you shouldn't be paid anything less than this if you are on a full-time contract. So if you're on a full-time contract, you should never be paid anything less than this. If you are paid less than this, it is either because you are a stagiaire, that means you are doing your internship, or you are if you are a stagiaire, or you are under the age of you are a minor, yeah, then maybe you might be paid less than this. Even at the age of 19, sometimes you might be paid less than this. But generally, the general idea is this is the minimum wage for France. Internship offers. What is the difference between SMIC and other salary payment streams, and how do one calculate tax from salary? So sometimes there is this misconception. We tend to see every deduction from our pay slips as tax payment. No, there is the cotisation, which is mandatory. Even if you're earning 50 euros a month, they will still take that 23% off from your pay slip. And it goes to the assurance malady. Every nice thing that you see around, that's where it goes to. The healthcare that is free and all of that. They have to make the money from somewhere. So it is 23%, which is taken from your brute. Then after that 23% has been taken, then the net of that will now be the imposable income. So they will now look at it. So based on what you now get, so most people who are on the lower bracket, so if you are making SMIC, you will most likely not be paying tax, or maybe it will be very, very minute. It could be something insignificant. But yeah, normally at the end of the day, in April, May, when the time for doing the tax declaration will start, you'll be able to know whether you are paying tax in the real sense or not. But from your workplace point of view, most times they will not take it out if you are not if you're a low income worker. But if you are making a lot of money, definitely after the cotisation, which is 23% for everybody has taken up, then based on the graduating rate, they would calculate your tax. Just an info, would be dealing with taxation on its own. Hopefully sometime next month. We are still working on that, but we will be dealing with it so that everybody can be aware of their tax obligation in France. What business can someone start in France as an auto entrepreneur with minimal resources? Just be a consultant or provide a service. So provide a service that doesn't necessarily mean you buying something. So even from your house, you can register the company using your house address, But if it is not your own house, you need to get explicit approval from your landlord that you want to use the house address as a business address before you continue the process. But yeah, if you are not having any product and all of that, you can use your house address. You don't need to rent a place, and it might not cost you any. It might cost you almost nothing to start. Yeah. How to use entrepreneur status for more familiar. So I'll leave this to Kachi to continue.
So for you to be able to do this, you need to, so there are different levels of revenue that you have to have for regroupement familiar. For just to invite your wife alone under a regroupement familiar, you need to be earning at least 23,000 euros, between 23 and 25,000 euros. So your business has to show, or you have to show, since you are using an entrepreneur status, you have to show that in the last 2 years, you have earned that amount. You have an apartment that is, I think 25 mètres carrés or so. If it's just your wife you are bringing in. If you have a child, for each child is 10 mètres carrés also added. So you have to have like a 35 square meter house, or 45 if you have 2 kids. If you are inviting your wife and your child, you need to earn one child, you need to earn between 25 and 27,000 euros thereabout. So it is possible to do, but they are going to scrutinize your resources. That is how much you earn. The housing, accommodation for you and your family, and then some other things that they look at the La Mairie, because you have to go through the La Mairie to get certain documents that you not take to the prefecture to start the process. So that's that. There's not so much to that. It's possible to do, even if you are an entrepreneur, to bring your family here, as long as you meet that that criteria. The Airbnb space, that is also a business. That is a very interesting business. Just the problem is, in some regions nowadays, there are certain regions that are beginning to frown at people using their houses for Airbnb. In some regions, it's completely cancelled now. Vacation homes have taken, like, they give preference to vacation homes than Airbnb. So in some regions, there are issues, but it's still a good business. It's a side business that you can do as well. Just the only problem is, if you are renting the house, you have to kind of notify your landlord. Legally, you have to notify your landlord that you are going to use the house that he rented for you to stay to do Airbnb. Doesn't mean that you cannot do it, though, but legally, you have to tell your landlord. So it's an interesting space. It's also a business. If you have properties on Airbnb, that can be your own source of business to get your entrepreneur visa as well. For that, you just need to register the business. And in such cases, an SAE is better. So an SAE is Société Civile Immobilier. Is strictly for real estate. So even if you are doing rentals, whatever you are doing, it's a good structure to do, and you can get your entrepreneur visa like that. Real estate is a very interesting space in this country. It's the most secure and stable space that you can put your money into. So Airbnb, of course, not a bad idea, but you need to check in your locality, in your region, but also in your commune, if they have issues with that or not. That's about that. For buying shares in France, you can buy shares, but that does not form the basis of your residence permit. Unfortunately, buying shares, except in the case where you're buying more than 30% of a company, there it becomes a basis for you to get your entrepreneurship or your investisseur permit. But if you're not buying more than 30%, at least 30% of a company share, it's just an investment for you. It's part of your investments. But you can do, anybody can buy shares, even students. You can go through your bank, you can go through a gestionnaire de patrimoine, or you can go through a conseiller financier to do that. Buying shares is very interesting. You can do it as well. Or you can even do it yourself. There are different applications that you can subscribe to do that. So that is very possible. Ajibola. Now, this is a very tricky question. Which freelance contract to pick? Portage Salarié in order to keep the Salarié permit or a complete change to entrepreneur? Portage Salarié is basically a structure, an entity that holds different freelancers under them and give them a salary status. You can do that to maintain your salary permit for sure. Even if you're a complete auto entrepreneur, you can still have your auto enterprise and affiliate yourself to a portage salarial entity. But for that, I don't know how that's going to affect your papers. Honestly, it's something that started a couple of years ago, the portage salarial thing. So there's no clear path on what it does to you. But another entrepreneur is another entrepreneur. You can be a salary under that, is possible. So is it possible to change from profession liberal to salary without authorization from employer? No. Because of the way things are done now. In the past, of course, I think that shouldn't have been a problem, but because you need the authorization de travail, the company has to ask for the authorization de travail. So they need to do that first, give that to you, then you can change your status. But you can change your status for sure, but you need the authorization de travail. And your employer has to apply for it, not you. You cannot apply for it by yourself. Tax hurdles like for freelancers. So there are different tax brackets for people. For a freelancer, you cannot earn more than 70, I don't know if 72 or 75,000 euros, because it puts you on a different tax bracket or in a different tax bracket. And then you pay heavily, so you're taxed income you make above that 75,000 euros. So it's really crazy. So there's a cap, of course, of the amount that you must not exceed. But if you earn, like Ajibola said, if you earn below the SMIC, even as a freelancer, you're not going to be taxed, but you still pay your social charges. If you earn the SMIC, I don't know how that's going to work, but you need to earn above the SMIC for you to be taxed. That's for sure. As a freelancer, speaking for myself, as an entrepreneur myself, I know that in the first 2 years, when income was not up to, I think the first year was not up to the SMIC, the second year was on the SMIC directly, I didn't get taxed, but the year after, when I declared a higher income, I got taxed. So you get taxed once you start to earn above the SMIC, that's for sure. After my internship, a few employers said they can't give me a job until my card decision changes from to Dion. Even to the employer cannot do anything to find a job. So you have to, so this is the sad part. Because your card decision says to Dion, there is nothing the pool employer can do for you. You need to be a salarié for you to benefit from full employer. Or you need to have the APS. If you have 7 months on it, you need to speak to the employers. You need to let the employers know that this can be done. Ajibola has given his own experience. It is something that can be done. They just apply for the authorization to travel for you. As long as you have your diploma, you apply for the authorization to travel, they get it, they give it to you. They don't have to do anything extra. They give that to you, then you go and apply for your carte de séjour salary by yourself. So this is a tricky situation, but you need to be able to convince the employer that it's not a burden on them and you can handle it. The only thing they need to do is just apply for the authorization to travel for you.
So I'll just ask, so if you're not able to get them to apply for the authorization to travel for, then you need to go for your APS. So this is just specifically for the person who said he still has 7 months.
7 months, yeah.
You can either go for your APS or you can wait a little bit and see if maybe you will still get somebody else to, do the authorization to travel for you. But basically, you need it to change. You don't have any choice. So I think, yeah, thank you very much. Now we'll just go quickly to the questions in the chat. We'll try and just go through them. I see the time already is 7:28. Yeah, I know we all have things to do tomorrow, so I'll just take it from the top. I'll check it, and then I'll do some, and then I'll pass some to Kachi. So we'll do it like that. What does APS stand for? I think that has been clearly stated, but again, it is no longer called APS, it's now called REES, which is Research, Employ, or Creation Enterprise. Job search or creation of enterprise or business creation. That's the term now. In the event that you want to create a business, it doesn't necessarily have to be in your field of study. It is best because imagine you are going to submit your CV. So unless you have professional experience in that particular field, even if you don't have like educational certificate to back it up, it would work. But at least you should have either of those. The only way it would work is maybe you did MBA. So I mean, MBA is or you did something business related. I mean, it's everything is a business, so that wouldn't matter. But if you are going for something very, very specific, another reason why they check that is if it is a regulated industry. So they need to see if you have the capability. So before they give you that resident permit. If you create a company and later get a job, can you be able to change to other type of visa types, to other visa types? Yes, definitely. You can always do change your status. There's no problem with this. I've been trying to apply for APS via Image Simplify. I keep getting a response that my diploma is inactive on France competence. Any idea what to do in this case? I've seen people having this particular issue. The only thing I can tell you is check with your school, because it's not all schools that actually are on this that you can actually get APS. Let me use the word APS because since that's like the word we all understand. It's not every school that you can get APS through. So even when you're applying for study permit from your country, you need to check if you can get the APS from your school, because not every school that you can get it from. So you need to check with your school. Why the reason why they cannot find them on that particular defense competence. Can you register a company in Belgium and use that passport along creation enterprise? Kachi?
No, actually, the company has to be domiciled in France. For you to get a passport talent création d'entreprise, your business has to be domiciled in France. You cannot use, no matter where it is, you cannot use what you are doing somewhere else to get a residence permit in France. That's not possible.
So basically, you you can have the business in Belgium, but
you need to have a
create,
domiciliation
yes,
here.
voilà.
Yeah.
You can create like a branch
French
in France,
branch. Yeah.
a French branch, but it has to be here. Then you can now submit some document from Belgium to back whatever you want to do in France. Please, how can one change from APS to employee visa? My company doesn't do visa sponsorship. I'm sorry, if they don't do visa sponsorship, then there's really nothing you can do because it has to go through your company. The company has to apply for the what you call for you for the
Authorization to travel.
Without it, there's really nothing you can do. So yeah. After I have successfully changed my status and I've gotten a job, can I also decide to be an auto entrepreneur? Essentially, can I be an auto? I think this has been already.
It has been answered. It's not possible for you to do that.
Yeah. Can you have an APS and change to a work visa?
Yes.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's the whole point. That's the reason why you were given
the APS in the first place.
The whole point. They want you to pay tax so that they can take care of the French citizens. So yeah. How about changing from travailleur temporaire to having a resident permit? So
here, the person has to have
on.
lived for 5 years as a temporary travailleur temporaire for 5 straight years, non-interrompu. It means that at no point have you had to leave for more than 6 months, because so you become if you have your fiscal residence, which is your tax, your tax is paid in France for 5 years straight, and you earn above the SMIC, that is also very important. You have to earn above the SMIC or minimum the SMIC for that 5-year duration without any interruptions. It means you cannot earn less than the SMIC in any of those years. Then you can apply for the carte de résidence, the residence permit. So first, you need to have 5 straight years working as a travailleur temporaire in France, earning above the SMIC for that 5-year stretch without having to leave or having interruptions in that 5 years. You have tax papers for that 5 straight years showing that you earn above the SMIC. That is very important.
And you would need to show your avis d'imposition. That's your
for
tax.
For the 5 straight years, you have to show avis d'impôt for 5 years.
Not doing their tax declaration, please do it because you meet it in front. It is waiting for you. If you are the majority shareholder and want to change to a salarié, is it possible to change who is the majority shareholder?
Yes, you can sell. So it's just paperwork. You can decide to say you are selling the majority shares to your partner or somebody else, and then you become the minority shareholder. It's just you move shares. It's just paperwork. Your lawyer sells more shares to whoever is going to become the majority. Then you step down to the minority, and then you do what you want.
Is micro enterprise the same as auto entrepreneur? So micro enterprise is the business, auto entrepreneur is the person running the business. Please, I would like to reconfirm that having the approximately 21,000 euros in your account to apply is not necessary. Yeah, 100%, it is not necessary.
Not necessary.
I know you don't need 21,000 in your account. Even if you just have at least SMIC for 1 month. Normally, if you already have your degree, they hardly refuse. If you have a master's degree, especially in France, they hardly refuse if you are trying to apply for the 1-year entrepreneur resident permit. They hardly refuse. As long as you have your business plan, your CV, your bank statement, and you have your certificate from a French university, the master's or something, should be fine. Can the other shareholders of the company being created be someone in Nigeria or any other country, or they have to be resident in France? Kachi?
So you can have shareholders or partners from anywhere in the world, as long as you want to get the residence permit for France as an entrepreneur, you have to be the majority shareholder. Wherever the shareholders are from, they don't care. As long as you, the majority shareholder, is here in France and domiciled in France, and the company is domiciled in France, means it is registered in France, it has its operating address in France, it has a French bank account, it pays taxes and social charges in France. Every other thing is significant.
How long will it take to get a 4 years or 10 years resident permit on professional liberal status? I hear they usually give 1 year permit. So you get 1 year, and then afterwards you get up to 4 years. So if you have a good shift d'affaires, that's if you have a good statement of account, normally you should get 4 years. Even if you don't have a very solid one, but you show that there's an improvement. So maybe normally you do quarterly declaration. If maybe the third and fourth quarter, they see like there's very good improvement on your shift d'affaires, they will give the 4 years. But even if they don't give the 4 years, they can give 1 year or 2 years. But it depends on the prefecture. To get the 10 years, it doesn't really matter. The main thing is make sure that, like Katia said, have your 5 years uninterrupted stay in France with minimum of the SMIC for every year. So have the minimum of the SMIC for every year. Then you can get the 10 years resident card or the EU card, whichever one you want to go for.
So let me just also highlight on that. To get the 4 years is, so I'll speak from my own experience. It took me 3 years to get I think it was the fourth time that I got the 4 years. And why that happened is, normally you're supposed to get 1 year and then 4 years. But some prefectures started to act strange, and they just keep giving you 1 year just to see if you can sustain the business. Normally by law, it's supposed to be 1 year and then 4 years. But if you show that you earn way above the SMIC in the first year, they might still give you 1 year. Maybe the second year, you still keep the same earning power, you might get the 4 years. It depends on the prefecture. These days, before it used to be crystal clear, 1 year, 4 years, but now a lot of things happen. And then, because I know I earned above the SMIC for more than 2 years before I was even given the 4 years. So it depends on the prefecture. But just make sure you try to earn above the SMIC every year. It's very important.
How many months before the expiration of the APS must you finalize the application process for auto entrepreneur? So you need to finalize things as soon as possible. So you don't necessarily need to wait for the end of your APS, or maybe things are not working as quick as you want, and you need to do it. There is a trick to it sometimes. So if you are still working on your documentation, if you're in a department where you can book appointments like for the next 2 months, 3 months, book the appointment, even if it has passed the time of the expiration of your resident permit, but only that make sure that the document you are going to submit is good, because if you submit your document and they refuse it, it means you are illegal. But if everything is fine, you will still be able to submit your document even after the expiration of your card if you had booked the appointment. So this one is based on department, and I don't know every department, but most departments you have to book appointment to come to submit your file. So if you are able to book appointment even after the expiration of your card, you will still be able to keep your rights in France legally, and you shouldn't have any problem. They would not ask you to pay. Normally, if you are dropping files after the expiration of your card, sometimes they ask you to pay the €180 regularization fee. But if you had booked the appointment before your card expired, it is not your fault, so you will not have to pay it. Is the grant also available for business growth expansion? Yes, there are a lot of grants. Like I said, you just need to check it out to see which one matches your a particular situation, but there are a lot of, there are for not just new businesses, existing businesses as well. What do you say, those working in France, do you mean those with work-related visas or students with partial CDD benefit from, yeah, even if you have CDD, you still have, it's not only those who are having CDE, you still have, you still be able to benefit from confirmation. So you just need to check. You can log in using, your social security number. That's the number on your card vital. And then, or you can log in using France Connect. So you'll be able to, the website is on the document you're going to sign. You should be able to see. You've been working for years in France. I know people who have been working for years, they didn't even know. They have training accounts where they can, use to at least sort some stuff out. Do you lose the formation grant if you don't use it? No, it accumulates, so you don't lose it. It accumulates. Like I said, people have been keeping it. They never even know they had something like that. They were able to still make use of it. It is yours. I don't know of any rule that says that it expires. Can we have a link for the Britain partner? I don't know what that is. It the BPI? Yeah. Please, can someone work more than 80 hours a month as a student during summer? So the fact that you're working 80 hours during summer is not the problem. You need to first know as a student how many hours you are able to work in a year, which is 969 hours in a year. So for some people, they break it down to monthly, so it could go to like maybe 20 hours a week or something like that. For some people, they don't work during school hours, and then like during off school days, they do full time, like they work the whole day or something. But the whole idea is, in a year, legally, you shouldn't do more than 969 hours in a year as a student. That is 60% of full time. Thank you. Looking forward to the tax session. I'm also looking forward to it. After getting APS visa, is it a must to get a job that pays 2,300 to 2,400? No, it is not a must that you need to get a job that pays this 1.5 or SMIC. If you get a job, so basically, in order for you to sideline this, you just need to get a job that maybe is in tension. So normally it should pass. And even often time, it still pass, even if the job is not in tension in the region, it still pass as long as you were able to get an authorization to travel. It will still pass at the level of the prefecture. I don't know if Kati has something to add to it.
No, I don't think it's necessary. I think the only condition is as long as you did a master's, the job has to be in your field of study. So that's the important thing for the prefecture, that the job is in your field of study, and it pays you above the SMIC. It pays you above the SMIC, is in your field of study. At the minimum, you get the carte de séjour salarié, not the passport talent, but it has to pay above the SMIC.
You will not get the passport alone, but I've had experiences of people who got a job in like in industries or in sectors that they didn't actually study for, but it still passed. This is why I said you need to check the jobs intention. That's the jobs that they really need in so every region have the list. So if the job you want to go for, if it is on that list, they would overlook some of these rules about the 1.5 or SMIC, or the job being like directly linked to what you studied in France. But at least they will still ask you for your certificate in France to show that at least you did what you claim you are coming to do in France, and then you can be able to get your authorization to travel, even if it is not directly linked. Then it has to be a job that they need in that what's it called, so on tension. So you need to check the list for your region. So every region with their list. Can you apply for the APS after your student stay permit expires? It will be very, 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 very difficult. because for you to apply for APS, you need to submit your student stay permit. So the best some department I know would do is they would, instead of applying online or something, you will need to go and drop the file directly with them. And if you drop the file directly with them, it is in their hands. If they now grant it, which they might grant if they see that you really have a serious, like maybe you finish school, like you have your certificate and you have a good profile, they might grant it, but then you need to pay the 180 euros regularization fee because you applied after the expiration of your card. But to apply online, I doubt if it will work because the system would block, because it wouldn't even pass through. So you need to go directly to the prefecture. But this one is case by case. I cannot say. Did you mention that after getting an APS, you cannot go back to being a student? Kachi, can you just go? I think you mentioned this, yeah.
Yes, it's not possible to go back to being a student. Okay, so let me not even say it's not possible because I know somebody who did it, but that was years ago. I have a friend, Kenneth, who did it, who was on APS that went back to school. Luckily, I don't know how he managed to squeeze it through, but he did. But in most cases, it's not possible. It's almost impossible. Though I have seen one person do it, and that is 1 in a million. So it's almost impossible to do. You can't. Because they tell you that you cannot go back to school. So I saw somebody ask the question that what if they leave the country as well and come back? I think in that case, you have left, you got the APS, you left the country, you have gone for 1 year, you have lived more. So you are coming back as a fresher again, as a student. Of course, maybe you should be able to get it. But if my memory serves me correctly, you're not giving the APS twice. But I don't know, maybe that trick might work. But yeah, I know that APS is not given twice for the same studies.
What if, okay, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Right.
Okay, thanks. What if my auto entrepreneurship business is not yet making a revenue or is making a loss? Do I still have to pay the social contribution? I'll just say something quick, then maybe Kaki can have. You need to pay your social contribution unless you put 0. So when you are declaring, you need to put an amount. Even if you put €1, you will pay 22.5% of it. If you put €1, if you put €10, you pay 22.5% of it. The tax itself will now be calculated at the point of doing tax declaration at the end of the year. But for your quarterly declaration, I beg, always declare something. At the end of the day, it now depends on you. If you don't want to declare anything and you put 0, then obviously there's nothing to pay on 0. But anything you declare from 1, there's that 22.5%.
So, yeah, Jibola is very correct. If your auto enterprise is not making money, you don't declare anything. So you have to declare 0. Even if you are losing money, you cannot go and declare minus as one. So that's the disadvantages of an auto enterprise is you have to declare 0 or you declare something that you have made. If you have not made money, you can declare 0. So true story, I know somebody who declared 0 for 2 straight years and they were still renewing their citizens. But this was years ago. So now don't go and gamble with it. This was years ago. That's why I'm saying, that's why I'm making it clear now. The person was declaring 0 for like 2 years, but every year they kept on renewing their person's still decision. But that was years ago, like about 6, 7 years ago. So, but I don't know now how that works. So you can declare 0. Of course, they know that you're, so I think the prefecture understand that you are a new business. In the first year, they are not expecting you to make any money. If you make money, oh well and good. But in reality for them, I don't think they expect so much from you in the first year. So it is doable. You can declare 0. If you are losing money, there's nothing you can do about that. You still have to just declare 0. If you make money, declare. But I think for your own good and to boost confidence at the prefecture, it's better if you declare 0 1 trimester, try and declare something the next trimester, so they see that there are movements. It's just that some days you are not making money, some days you are making money.
Okay. Are all these change processes applicable to those
Sorry,
who
I
are?
think I
Okay.
have a question that came as a direct message before the next one. So sorry, from Kemi. She says, my question is, you mentioned that if you have had a risk before, you cannot be a student again. What if you have had the risk before after completing an initial study, then return to your country of origin, and after a year, return to France for another study with a student visa? How does this affect your visa conversion after current study? So like I said, I think that should be the only way you can get a second APS, actually. Being able to leave for a year. So because when you come as a student, you come with a visa long séjour. You do the OFI. Most people don't know that once you do an OFI, you are already integrated into the French system. So your immigration journey starts to count from there. Now, if you get to the point where you leave and break that journey, I think, of course, that's not where you go back to saying, okay, you're starting afresh again. So that might work. I know people have left and come back to study after 1 year, but I don't know if they had to get the APS or not. I'm going to find out. I'll try and find out that, but I think that should work, actually. Actually, that should work. I think that person actually did the same thing. It should work. You should be able to get it. You should be able to get it.
Okay. Are all these change processes applicable to those who have not obtained masters but license, that's the bachelor's? I think for the entrepreneur, it's not compulsory that you should have a master's degree. Maybe for the one for the passport alone, you need a master's degree, or you need to show 5 years of professional experience in that line of business. But for the enterprise, it's not compulsory. You can do it with even license. Kachi, I don't know if I'm mistaken.
No, what was the question?
That can you use like if you have just a license certificate, that's the bachelor's, can you still do some of these changes that we've been discussing?
Yeah, of course. You were a student, you are just switching from student. It does not matter. Even if I think the only time when you don't get an APS is if you come with the language school. So for language, I'm not sure you get an APS after 1 year of language school, but a license, master's, these are professional certificates and degrees. So you should be able to do your changes and all.
Can we apply for multi-years resident permit as this? I think this has been already answered. Kachi, is it possible to get your contact? May need some more guidance. I'll leave that
I've
to
responded to him already. Yeah.
Okay. What does a French passport holder based in Nigeria have to set up a business in France? A French passport holder, it means you're Omonilu now.
Yeah, Omonilu, you can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want to do.
You own the country. You can
You
own
can
the
do
passport,
whatever
whether
you
you are
want to
based
do.
in Nigeria.
I'm not even going to start talking about your matter. Let's move on. Please, do you need to make a minimum amount of money per year to renew your auto entrepreneur permit? I think that has also been mentioned.
No, it has been answered that you don't have to. It's good to make at least the SNIC, but it's okay if you don't make up to the SNIC, at least in the first year or second year. Second year, you don't really have to. Just as long as they see income coming. And you are not here, also very important. And you're not a burden to the system. So it means you're not going to collect CAF somewhere and collect RSA somewhere. And as long as you're not collecting anything from the system and you're self-sustainable, even you self-sustain yourself, even when you make low amount of money, I think that's not an issue. usually.
When you say above the SMIC, do you mean SMIC for a year or the month? Kachi?
For a year, of course, not for the month, for the year. So the SMIC is for the year. So 21,000, whatever it is now, you have to at least try to earn above that or minimum that.
Hello everyone, nice conversation so far. I did a BSc. Must I get a master's to get an APC? I'm guessing APS. Or do a business if I am already in a French school. Kachi.
So no, you don't have to do a master's to get an APS. But now that you're in a French school, if your French school is more than a year, you might not be able to get the APS because you have to ask for it within a year after your education. So I don't know if your French school is for a year or more than a year, then you might just have to just quickly apply for masters and go continue since you already started. And then maybe after masters, you can start asking for the APS.
How long do you need to have stayed in France before you start filing your tax? Start filing from the first year.
From the first year?
Yeah, from the
I think
year.
It was the first year. Then it was the first year usually manual paper. So I just wrote 0, 0, 0, 0 every year and sent it to them. So it's just good
start from the first year, because you might find it insignificant initially, but then it will go a long way to help you in your journey in France. Everything that you do, they will most often ask if you need to go to bank and all of that. All these grants and things that we are discussing and all of that, sometimes they might ask for ridiculous documentation, and some of them can be your visiting position. They want to see what you've been doing, because you can say a lot of things with your mouth. You can type a lot of things and have a beautiful presentation, but they look at the facts. And what are the facts? These are things that can be verified, documents that are verifiable with the French government that you cannot do anything about. And a visiting position is one of them. It's very, very important document. So yeah. How do one check jobs needed in my region? An example. How do you check? I don't even know your region in the first place. You need to go to your region website and know what is happening there. But yeah, every region, even sometimes departments are different from one another, even within the same region. So that one, you can go to the mairie of your locality. They will be able to give you information. I would see if I can add something around this on the document we'll send later. Kachi, I don't know if you have something to say on that.
No, I think they should just also go to their La Mairie or go on Google, check travail en haute tension and put your region in it. It should pop up what is in demand there as well.
Yeah, so just put jobs that are in demand. Yeah, like you said, travail en tension, and see what is obtainable there. There are lists that are drawn up every year, so you'll be able to see it. And you can even see from another region. So if you want, maybe what you are looking for is in another region, you can move to the other region to get that job. How to change étudiant salarié to employee? I think we've discussed this. Especially which contract do you need? The best contract in France is always CDI. That's contrat durée indéterminée. But you can have a CDD as well. Yeah, the time they will give you for CDI is obviously different from CDD. They might give you initially 1 year, everybody 1 year, but then at the point of renewing, that's when they will separate CDI from CDD. They will give CDI 4 years. CDD, they will give you what is left on your contract, the remaining time that is left on your contract. Well done for great presentation. Would you also share the recording? Yes, by God's grace, we would share everything. French school is 3 years. I don't know what this person is trying to say.
So that's the person that was saying that they are already in French school. It's for 3 years, so I don't think you can get an APS at this point. No, just continue with your studies.
Is there a document that details what the criteria for an innovation business is to qualify for innovation grants. I would add this to, so I think it's already part of what I'm sending anyway. I would add it to what we are sending, and yeah, you'll be able to see the info. Also, you can check. I'll send some. I also have some websites as well that are good to look at.
My
For
friend,
the tax,
you guys,
for the tax filing, do you mean the first year of getting here, or when you complete 1 year? So the taxation. Let me just say this quick. Tax filing starts from April thereabouts, and they look at the previous calendar year from January to everything that's happened January to December. So let's say you came in January this year, for example, you have nothing to do this year until next year. That's when you file your tax, because you cannot file tax for this year in this year. But for those who came in at least last year, you can do your tax filing from April. It is from April to around June thereabouts. You can file your tax this year if you came at least last year. Because I recently went to the local finance office in 94, and I was told I can't file until April. Because there is April that you can start filing, like I said. But we do for next year. Thank you very much. Well detailed information, very helpful, really appreciate it. We thank you too for staying with us. Thank you, everyone. We won't be as okay. I think this does the last one, and can I get a job with my BSc while still in French school? The French school is flexible. Classes attendance are not mandatory. Kachi?
Yes, of course. So that means then you now have to change your status when you get it. They have to apply for the authorization to travel for you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Kemi. Thank you too. We appreciate you, and we are sorry to have taken this long, but I think it was important for us to really delve deep into this particular, because I mean, we are all in this country, and as long as we are still here, the goal is to be, to be legally present, and at least to be doing something worthwhile while we are here. Even if at the end of the day, maybe we want to move back home or move to other countries or something. But yeah, thank you very much. If there are any other questions, I think we will not be taking them again.
Somebody has a question that is very important. Hold on, let me just see. Let it be the last question. So, any tips for those still searching for stage in the IT industry? Adibola, any tips for this person?
For those searching for what's it called, stage in IT, you have to keep looking. I don't know how best I can explain this. Go on LinkedIn, check with if you are in a school that is very, very profound in IT, they will have alumni and things like the association. Check with them. Go on LinkedIn, check on like all the different job. You can also go to Pole Employ. You can register with Pole Employ, even though Pole Employ would not give you any money as a job seeker, but then you can register there, put your CV there. There are tons of jobs on Pole Employ that are being put up. You can be able to get something for yourself. I'm not really in the IT space, so I cannot really say so much, but yeah. Thank you very much. 2 hours well spent, I guess. If there are further questions, you can send to the email of the business committee, and we'll try and respond. Anything outside of what we've discussed today. Thank you very much. I would like to answer off here. Thank you, Kachi, for being a partner on this project for today. Thank you, everybody, the whole business committee, and the member of the
Thank you very
FON
much, everyone.
Have a wonderful evening and a good work week.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening. Great week ahead.